It is time to enter the Spider-Verse.
Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, join it or something.
Lee Cameo Prime here, so it's time for a next review in my Spider-Man film series of reviews. And in today's review, guys, I'm going to be talking about probably what is easily, in my opinion, my second favourite Spider-Man movie of all time. And that would have to be, of course, none other than a movie which is actually animated, guys. And this would also have to be my favourite animated movie by Sony Picture Animation. And this would have to be, of course, none other than 2018's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So, yeah, I love this movie. I really do. I really love this movie very much, guys. It's always such a blast to watch from start to finish. It really is. And I'd rank it in second place after, of course, what is my favourite movie of all time, Spider-Man 2. So, yeah. And this is just absolutely amazing movie, guys. I really love it. So, what is this movie about? So, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, the creative minds behind the Lego Movie and 21 Jump Street, bring their unique talents to a fresh vision of a different Spider-Man universe, with a groundbreaking visual style that's the first of its kind. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse introduces Brooklyn teen Miles Morales, who is voiced by Shameik Moore, and the limitless possibilities of the Spider-Verse, where more than one can wear the mask. So, yeah. Now, so this film, guys, was of course developed by the two directors I just mentioned, and the casting was announced in the years before the film came out, and premiered in Los Angeles on the 1st of December 2018, then was theatrically released on December 14th. The film grossed $375.5 million worldwide against a $90 million budget, and it received widespread praise from critics for its animation, characters, story, voice acting, and humour. The film even won the Best Animated Feature of the 97th Academy Awards, which is pretty cool because it's the first non-Disney or Pixar animated film to receive the award since Rango, which is pretty awesome. So, yeah, now, when it comes to my reaction, guys, so I, of course, watched this movie for the first time in theatres back in 2018 in December. Went to see this, and I got to say, I had an absolute blast watching it. It blew my mind from start to finish. It was absolutely incredible. Just an absolutely brilliant movie, in my opinion. And I really loved it. So let's start by talking about, the pros and cons of the film, guys. So just like with, Spider-Man 2 and the first Spider-Man movie by Sam Raimi, I once again, I can't really think of much problems with the movie, really. There's probably only maybe a very little fair few, maybe. Because I've loved this movie ever since I first saw it in the cinema, and I've rewatched it many times ever since, and I, of course, rewatched it last night in preparation for this review, and I still love it to this day, So one of the good qualities of this movie, in my opinion, guys, is definitely the voice cast. So, for example, I really loved Shameik Moore as a voice of Miles Morales. He's probably my favourite Miles, and he did a very great job bringing Miles to life, and he's a very likeable character. Really well played, in my opinion. I also love Jake Johnson as a version of Peter Parker Spider-Man from another universe who comes into Miles' universe. And he's also really great in the role, and yeah, Peter Benjamin Parker to be specific, yeah, just to avoid confusion. And he's a pretty great character, guys, and he's also a very unique version of Spider-Man because he's a reluctant mentor, a dishevelled, jaded and brown-haired 38-year-old counterpart of Spider-Man. So yeah, very unique take on Spider-Man there, definitely. And he's also a character who's a bit broken due to separating from Mary Jane, and he's also gained weight, and all he does is eat pizza, so yeah, pizza time. So yeah, very unique version of Spider-Man right there. And apparently, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller also envisioned this version of Spider-Man to be based on Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid, which is pretty interesting, isn't it? And he was definitely, very good in the role. And that's probably my favourite role of Jake Johnson. I also as well really loved Haley Steinfeld as the voice of Spider-Gwen. She was definitely really amazing in the role. I think this is probably the role that introduced me to her as an actress, guys, before I, of course, watched Bumblebee a few weeks after this movie. And she played her really well, in my opinion. Great voice acting. She probably is my favourite Gwen, actually, to be honest. Because I think she was perfectly cast in the role. And I also as well loved Mahershala Ali as Miles' uncle, Aaron Davis. He's also probably my favourite Aaron Davis, who of course is revealed to be the supervillain called the Prowler as well. And he was definitely really great in the role, in my opinion. And I also as well loved Brian Tyree Henry as Miles' father, Jefferson Davis. He was definitely really well played, in my opinion, by Brian. That's probably my favourite role of Brian, actually. And you can tell, you know, in his scenes that he cares so much about his son. He really does, even though he doesn't really like Spider-Man being a vigilante. He's definitely, you know, really good playing in the role, in my opinion. And really played Jefferson so well. I also as well loved other cast members. When it comes to these supporting heroes, I definitely really love the addition of other Spider-Man incarnations from other universes who come. For example, I definitely really love Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir. Noir is one of my favourite, you know, like, alternate universe Spider-Mans, and it was definitely great to see him in this movie, and this is definitely my favourite voice role of Nicolas Cage, absolutely. He played him really well, in my opinion. Made him a very entertaining character. And apparently he based Noir on the films of the actor called Humphrey Bogart, I believe. And he based his voice on actors from the era of Humphrey, such as people like James Cagney and Edward G. Robinson. I also as well liked Kimiko Glenn as Penny Parker. She was also very good, in my opinion. One who has like a biomechanical suit. She was really good, in my opinion, in her role. I definitely as well really love John Mulaney as Peter Parker, also known as SpiderHam. Yeah, SpiderHam was great comic relief, absolutely hilarious, in my opinion. Yeah, John Mulaney is no question my favourite Spider-Ham, because he was just so funny, in my opinion. I had a good laugh watching Spider-Ham scenes. When it comes to other supporting characters, I also as well like the addition of Lily Tomlin as May Parker. And she played her really well, in my opinion. Really good in the role. I also as well liked Luna Lauren Velez as Rio Morales, who is Miles' mother, who works as a nurse. She was very good. Even though she doesn't have very much scenes because she was only a supporting character, she voiced her really well. I also as well liked Zoe Kravitz as the voice of Mary Jane Watson. She was definitely very good as Mary Jane, in my opinion. And after, of course, the Spider-Man of Mars' universe gets killed, you know, you can tell how heartbroken Mary Jane is about, you know, her husband's death. So, yeah. Speaking of the Spider-Man who died in Mars' universe, Jake Johnson didn't voice this version. They instead got Chris Pine to voice this version of Spider-Man. And I gotta say that this is probably my favourite voice role of Chris Pine, actually, because I think he voiced Spider-Man really well. Even though he only appeared, you know, like, you know, with his intro line at the start of the movie, and also, of course, when he encounters Miles and unfortunately gets killed, I think he voiced him really well, in my opinion. And so he was played so well, in my opinion, and this version, of course, is different because he's 26, not 38, like Jake Johnson's version, and he's also got blonde hair and blue eyes as well in this dimension. So, yeah. And I think he played him really well. This is probably my favourite voice role of Chris Pine, definitely. Now, when it comes to the villains, guys, there's many that I definitely liked in this, so the main villain of the movie, guys, is obviously, of course, the Kingpin, who is of course, voiced by Liev Schreiber. And in Miles' universe, he's a crime lord and the leader of Alchemax. And I think Liev did a very great job voicing in Kingpin, in my opinion. It's probably my favourite voice role of him. And my favourite live-action role of his is probably Sabretooth in X-Men Origins Wolverine, even though I hate that movie. But I think he was definitely great in terms of voice work as Kingpin. Although my personal favourite voice for Kingpin is, of course, Roscoe Lee Brown. May he rest in peace. I think he played him really well. Although, we'll admit, Kingpin's design is pretty weird because of how, you know, how big he is and large. But, you know, it makes sense because Kingpin's a big character, so it probably makes sense for Kingpin. I also, as well, definitely like the addition of Catherine Hahn as Dr. Olivia Octavius, who is, of course, a female incarnation of Dr. Octopus. And she was definitely very good, in my opinion, as well. I think she's probably my favourite voice of the female version of Dr. Octopus, actually, in my opinion, because I thought she was pretty compelling, actually. Goodness me, she was very good. There's also some other Spider-Man villains who appear in small roles in this movie, who appear alongside, you know, as henchmen to Kingpin, you know, alongside Lady Octopus and Prowler. So, for example, you have Jorma Tacorn as the voice of the ultimate version of Green Goblin, you know, one that looks like a giant and goblin. I'm not really much a fan of that version, to be honest, but I can accept it as being a different version of Green Goblin because it's a different universe. I also like Marvin Jones III as Tombstone as well. Although he didn't say very much lines, I thought he was good when he was given as Tombstone. I also liked Joaquin Cosea as a voice of Scorpion. A version of Scorpion who wears like, you know, some sort of like mech suit sort of thing, and he speaks Spanish. He was actually pretty good in my opinion. And other good qualities I will also say is also as well, the movie definitely has really great animation in my opinion. It's really good, and it's definitely a very unique animation set because it literally feels like I'm watching a comic book come to life. That's how it feels. Like, wow, it's just so breathtaking, and the colour, and like, you know, the way animation is done, blended with the lighting, it's just done so well in my opinion. Yeah, it was brilliant. And they did it so well, in my opinion, with animation. And what's also good about this movie is that the movie does acknowledge that there's already been lots of adaptations about Peter Parker's Spider-Man already, so it decides to do something new and instead focus on Miles Morales, another version of Spider-Man. So I like how this movie gave Miles Morales a chance to shine, while also including Peter Parker as well, which is pretty cool. And also as well, other things as well, the story is also really great in my opinion, guys, really good, how it shows Miles' origin story about becoming Spider-Man, and of course meeting other incarnations of Spider-Man from other universes. It was definitely really great in my opinion, really, how they did that. And other good thing I did also was also the music composed by Daniel Pemberton. Very, very great themes in my opinion, especially, you know, Mars' theme and stuff like that, and other great music. There's also some songs in the movie which are definitely nice to listen to. For example, you've got songs such as What's Up Danger, and also Memories, and also Scared of the Dark. They're definitely great songs in my opinion. I love them to listen to. I've even got some of the songs on my phone to listen to for music, so yeah, great to listen to. And also as well, other things which are also great about the movie is also, aside from, you know, about the cast and story and visuals, what's also great is also there's many memorable lines, such as there's three actually, which is pretty cool. And also as well, all the scenes where Miles taps people on the shoulder and says, "Hey." Yeah, it's pretty funny actually, yeah. And what's great is, even though this movie does have a very huge amount of characters, it thankfully stays focused on Miles, which is great. So yeah, I'm glad they focused on Miles, because he definitely deserved it, in my opinion. So yeah. And also as well, guys, despite this movie being, what is it, like 117 minutes, but the pacing, in my opinion, is excellent, because it doesn't feel too short or too long. It feels such, you know, a great ride from start to finish, in my opinion. It's really good, in my opinion. And what's also great about this movie, guys, is that in Miles' universe, and what's great is it avoids product placement, which is done really well. So, for example, in Miles' universe, you have Coca-Cola, which becomes a new drink called Coca-Soda, with Coca spelled with a K instead of a C. The delivery company FedEx becomes RedX, and also Google becomes Backrub, which was the original name for Google. And there's also as well a pretty funny joke in the Times Square billboard where it's advertising an upcoming movie, which is, of course, the originally scrapped sequel to my favourite comedy movie of all time, Shaun of the Dead, which is called From Dusk Till Shaun. Yeah, because if you pay attention to, you know, Jake Johnson's Spider-Man arriving in Times Square in the alternate universe, you can see a poster for From Dusk Till Shaun in the background. So that was definitely a very nice little joke about that scrap sequel. So you could say that sequel had an afterlife in another universe. Also, when it comes to other good things, one other highlight of the movie, in my opinion, guys, is probably the cameo appearance by the legendary Stan Lee, Spider-Man's co-creator, because he's a cameo appearance as a comic shop owner who sells a Spider-Man mask to Miles, and a costume, and it's definitely, you know, a very touching cameo, in my opinion, guys, because Stan Lee says he's going to miss Spider-Man, and that he was once friends with Spider-Man. Miles then asks if he can return the costume if it doesn't fit, but then Stan Lee's character says, "It always fits, eventually." And then it's revealed that he doesn't allow refunds, which is really funny, in my opinion, guys. I have a very good laugh at that cameo. And that line as well, which he says about "it always fits eventually," is also another example of a very motivational line from Stan Lee, where he says that anyone can wear a costume and be a superhero. Yeah, it's a very motivational quote, in my opinion, in a funny scene, definitely. And sadly as well, I do also believe this was unfortunately Stan's, final voice role in the film, because he unfortunately, of course, died the previous month, may rest in peace. So yeah, I miss Stan very much. And the credits for the film also had a very nice quote from Stan Lee saying that anyone who thinks, what they're doing is right is a superhero. Very motivational quote, in my opinion, yeah. So, yeah, rest in peace, Stan Lee. And also as well, another great thing as well about a movie as well is also the fight scenes are also great too, and the web swinging is great as always, absolutely. And when it comes to other cameos, there's also a case of cameo appearances via the use of archive audio, because in this movie, guys, in the scene where we get, the introduction of Chris Pine's Spider-Man and he's narrating his backstory, I love how they made lots of references to a Sam Raimi trilogy. For example, the upside down kiss, and also the car being thrown into a cafe, and also sadly as well, there's also a scene where he's dancing in the style of Blue Maguire. So like, oh god, thankfully it didn't last long, thankfully, but yeah, it was a bit annoying seeing that, but still, thankfully it didn't last long. And in that cameo, guys, we actually got an appearance by Uncle Ben, and he literally says, with the same voice as Cliff Robertson, rest in peace, with great power and great responsibility, which is pretty great. They used the same audio from Cliff Robertson, which is definitely very nice to hear. And the film does have lots of great humour as well. Definitely funny scenes, in my opinion, which definitely fits so well, in my opinion. So I've already mentioned that SpiderHam is absolutely hilarious, in my opinion, really funny. And also as well, I do also believe that this movie also helped save Sony Pictures Animation, because obviously the previous year there was a critically panned film they did called the Emoji Movie, which was critically panned on release. But thankfully this movie saved Sony, as I've heard, and I can definitely see that, because the previous year they of course also released what is the worst animated film I've seen being Surf's Up too. So yeah, thankfully this movie saved Sony. Thank goodness for that. I was very happy about that. I know that many people weren't really looking forward to this movie because of the disaster of being the Emoji Movie. The reward of this movie was probably sucksy, but thankfully it did not. It was definitely really great, in my opinion. And also as well, the final battle is also really great too. Definitely. Very powerful, in my opinion, as well, for an animated movie. Like, wow, it was definitely very powerful and intense, absolutely. And also as well, what's also great is that, this movie, in my opinion, definitely does deserve its upcoming sequel, guys, because there's going to be a confirmed sequel called Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is coming out next year. Slated to, of course, and I'm very annoyed it got delayed another year, because there was literally no reason to delay it, guys. I wish it came out this year, but sadly it did not. But thankfully it does have a reason to exist, because the ending of this movie sets it up by having Miles listening to music in his dorm, and then, of course, a portal appears above him, and Gwen asks him if he's got a minute. So, yeah, setting up a sequel, which is definitely a very nice setup, in my opinion. And also, as well, I mentioned earlier about product placement, guys. There is a case of it in which, Sony things appear, but I can let that slide because this is a Sony film, so, of course, they're going to use their own products in the movie. Yeah, of course they are. It'll probably make sense. And in addition as well, what's also great about a movie, there's so many great things. I think the movie definitely has lots of heart as well, absolutely. You can definitely tell that, the makers of the movie put lots of their heart and soul into a movie, in my opinion. You can definitely just tell because how great it is, beautiful visuals and a great story. Amazing music to listen to. And there's also great use of emotional moments too. I've already mentioned that Spider-Man's death scene is pretty heartbreaking. And many people have also interpreted that death scene as being how people would have reacted to Stan Lee's death as well. And I can definitely see why, because, Stan Lee's death was also a very heartbreaking day, in my opinion. Really heartbreaking. And also as well, Prowler does also get killed, but he doesn't kill Miles when he realises that Spider-Man is Miles. So I'm glad that, Aaron spared Miles, but unfortunately he got shot by Kingpin, and his death was pretty sad. And there's also a conversation between Miles and other Spider-Man about, Aaron's death, and they tell him, who they've lost and stuff like that. So yeah, it was definitely, a very it's sad seeing, in my opinion, and I think that was probably inspiration when No Way Home took from this movie, because, you know, they had a similar scene where we're talking about, you know, losing their loved ones and stuff like that. So, yeah, in this movie, they talked about it, and then they did the same thing in No Way Home, of course, yeah, 3 years later. But yeah, nonetheless, well, guys, this was still a definitely amazing movie, and I regard it as my second favourite Spider-Man movie of all time. And what's also amazing, it's also some pretty cool end credit scenes, guys. So I've already mentioned that it included a quote from Stan Lee and also a dedication to him and Steve Ditko. May they both rest in peace. And at the end of the movie, guys, there's a pretty exciting post-credit scene which involves one of my favourite alternate Spider-Mans, which of course would be Spider-Man 2099, or Miguel O'Hara, who is voiced by Oscar Isaac. And I regard this as probably my favourite voice role of Oscar Isaac so far, I've heard, absolutely, because I think he voiced him really well in this scene. I think he played him really well. And in addition as well, it was definitely very exciting because he found out about, you know, the multiverse problems and all that, and he also as well. And it's also in a pretty funny moment because he ends up in the universe of the Spider-Man 60s show, which was definitely really funny. In my opinion, yeah, really hilarious, and a nice little callback to the 60s show, which I have watched when I was a child. It was definitely a really great show to watch. And yeah, they did really well, you know, with making that and also the animation for that. Really great. And yeah, it was definitely a very nice way to end the story, and I really can't wait for the sequel. You know, I'm still really annoyed that they delayed it another year, because there was literally no reason to delay it at all. There was literally no reason to delay it. So yeah, I really can't wait for a sequel, guys. Really, I'm looking forward to it coming out, which is slated to be released on June the 2nd of next year. And I really hope it'll be great. I really do. And there's also a third film called Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse coming out the following year in March 2024 as well, which is pretty exciting. Hopefully, it'll be great to watch. I really hope so. And yeah, so guys, this is me doing my review for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So if you guys were wondering what I would rate it out of 10, well, guys, you know, like I said, in my opinion, I don't really have much problems with this movie. I mean, you know, it's hard to decide, really. So, I mean, when it comes to, like, you know, anything that wasn't really that good, maybe that the movie may not be suitable for viewers who have epilepsy due to the use of strobe lighting. So, yeah, that can probably be, like, a problem right there, yeah, because of the excessive use of strobe lighting. So, yeah, if you guys have epilepsy, this may not be a movie for you, sadly. I've already mentioned as well that Kingpin's design is also weird too, and also that, you know, some characters may not have very much scenes, but I can let myself because they're supposed to be in supporting roles, so it'll make sense. And yeah, but nonetheless, well, guys, I still, you know, love Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and if I was to rank it out of 10, well, guys, I would rate Spider-Man Into Spider-Verse a flat-out 10 out of 10. So yeah, I love this movie very much. Yeah, great movie in my opinion, guys. Definitely really amazing. Always a blast to rewatch from start to finish, absolutely. Great movie. So, you know, drill, guys, be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to comment what you guys think of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And also be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe for more videos in the future. If you'd like to be a member, you can press on the piece out of the description. And with great power comes great responsibility.